Hello, and welcome to Stuff and Things with Chris. I'm your host, Chris. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different. This video is going to be for all of the parents out there who have kids who now suddenly have no schools to go to because they've all been closed. Here in Dallas, DISD, which is 150,000 students, shut down for the foreseeable future. There will be classes done in online learning. I actually am a teacher myself. I teach at a private school, and we are going to an online kind of learning. It's going to be different in every district here around Dallas. Some are doing full-blown full school days online. Some are not. Regardless of that, there's going to be a lot of downtime for the kids, and they're going to be stuck at home. Now, here in Dallas, everything's closed. Movie theaters, restaurants, arcades, the zoo, all the museums, the Arboretum, Six Flags, Wet n Wild, and of course, all sports activities. Every sports team has canceled their season everywhere in America. So that leaves not a whole lot of options for the kids. Now, sure, you can have them build macaroni art or popsicle guys and act out scenes of various things. You could take them to the park, maybe, except they're all closed here in Dallas. So maybe where you live, they're not closed yet. You could have them run in the backyard, unless you live in an apartment, and then they would just run into a wall repeatedly. You're going to be stuck with them. You got to figure out what you're going to do. Now, as a teacher, we build in a lot of breaks during the day where we don't try to inundate them with massive amounts of work. I'm going to strongly suggest all of you out there about to embark on this online learning system, understand that it's going to be really different for your kids, especially if they've never done anything like it before. And there's going to be a lot of resistance to it for most of them because that's not what they want to do. If the school is closed, they want to do stuff that is not school related. So trying to get them to sit down in front of a webcam and talk to their teacher about long division is going to be a little bit of a challenge. So what we're doing at my school is we're coming up with basically a list of activities, and they can pick 3 or 4 out of those for each subject for a week. So say it's math. So you send home maybe 5 different activities they do. Here's a page of multiplication problems. Here's a page of graphs. Here's a page of word problems. And maybe probability where you ask them to roll some dice and come up with some fractions and things like that. And then the kids are told, pick 2 of those or pick 3 of those. And the parents have some options then. It gives the kids some power of choice. They don't feel like they're just stuck. And, that helps them a lot assimilate into what's going on. And eventually, if this quarantine goes on for a long period of time, then it will help them adjust to larger and larger workloads. But the main thing is you have to be able to provide your kids with some sort of non-school activity during the daytime in between regular school activity. So I'm going to strongly suggest Netflix can be your friend. Now, some of you have probably already discovered this, but Netflix has a massive amount of stuff for kids. So I'm going to give you a list of some things that are probably going to really help you guys out, and that I know from personal experience kids actually enjoy. There's nothing worse than putting something on that they all look at and go, oh no. All right, I've heard that a lot. So these are kid tested and kid approved. Now, I've broken it down into 2 categories because Netflix has things they call it Y7, so it's 7 or younger, and then they have your G and PG rated things for the older kids. So I'm going to start off talking about stuff to watch on Netflix for kids 7 and under. Now, they also appeal to older kids because all the kids in my classroom are over 7 years old and they like all these shows. Okay. So first one is an oldie but a goodie. This is one from back when I was probably, I think, in middle school and even carried on in reruns even when I was in college, and that's Pee-wee's Playhouse. Now there's 6 seasons of this. If you've never seen this, watch an episode first because it's a little out there. There's talking furniture, there's weird clocks, it's kind of off the wall, but kids really do like it even today. It's pretty short, these are little 30-minute shows, so without commercials you're looking at 20 minutes. So that's something you can show them in between math and reading assignments. Or whenever they have some downtime, you can sit with them and watch a couple of those things. You don't have to worry. These are not, by any way, stretch the imagination, violent. They could be scary for some kids because, let's be honest, furniture doesn't talk. So that might freak out some, especially if they're a little younger. But for the most part, Pee-wee's Playhouse is a pretty safe choice. Next one is kind of a new one. It came out a couple years ago, and it's called Kong, King of the Apes. Now this one has 2 seasons in it, and it's an animated show. And it's about Kong, and kind of in his teenage years, I guess you could say, and he is helping members of the local community, jungle community, defend themselves against an evil scientist. One thing I will say about this one is the first episode is a movie, so it's an hour and a half long. The other episodes after that are 20 minutes, but it's actually really good. I actually liked it, so I thought it was cool. I would recommend that one also. Kong, or King of the Apes. Okay. Next one. This one was brought to my attention by one of my students. This is called Larva. Now, Larva is a foreign film, sort of. It started out as a short film done by some guys, I think from France, if I remember right. This thing, man, this is right in every boy's wheelhouse who's under 10 years old. Okay, it is about 2 basically larval beings, animals. Okay, so one is yellow and one is red. They don't talk. They make noises, they grunt, and they do a lot of rude humor things. There's a lot of fart jokes, okay? Young boys love the fart jokes. And these things are really short. These are like 3, 4, 5 minutes long, okay? Now, there's 3 seasons of it, and they live in a gutter. So most of the episodes revolve around them discovering things that people have thrown away, that have washed down the sewer, whatever it is. So you can imagine, it is pretty funny, I will have to admit. It is incredibly silly. So older kids, probably not going to go for this, okay? There might be some who do. It is actually pretty funny. I watched it with my class. They got really into it. About half the class wanted to just keep watching them over and over and over again. And that's good if you can get, reusable entertainment value out of it. Larva, check that out. So next is another one that's kind of an older one. It's one I've seen. This is a really off the wall one. It's called Zig and Shark. Now the premise of this makes no sense whatsoever. There is an island, and on this island is a girl, and there is a hyena who was ended up on this island, and there was a shark who is also on this island, technically in the water, but he spends most of the time running around on his little tail fin like this. The hyena has decided he wants the girl, who literally does not talk at all. She doesn't talk, right? She just kind of stands there, and he goes and grabs her, and then the shark comes and gets her. It's a little bit like Wile E. Coyote and the Road Runner. He's always trying to. It's really pretty funny. It will not make a lot of sense. Okay. I've shown this to kids in my classes, and they thought it was really hilarious. The older ones thought it was really goofy and silly. Okay, yeah, it's a cartoon, man. But it is really pretty funny. It's I would call that zany. So that one is Zig and Shark, and there's only 1 season of it, and again, it's about 30-minute episodes, or no, it's actually, I think, 2 15-minute episodes in a half-hour show. Next, now this is one that the kids in my class liked. It's called Angry Birds. It's based on a video game. You can't go wrong with that, right? They all know what Angry Birds is because they play it on their PlayStations or their phones or their tablets or whatever they got. So the Angry Birds cartoon along with the movie, in case you can get that, very popular with the young kids. They think it's pretty hilarious, especially all the different voices each one of the birds has and the different actions and the shenanigans that go on. So there's 3 seasons of that one. It's actually pretty good also. There's also another one there. So How to Train Your Dragon was a series of movies. If you have kids, you're probably familiar with them. They have a whole bunch of spin-off TV shows of these. There's 3 or 4 of them out there. They all have multiple seasons. They're all really popular with the kids. I personally like the Dragons Race to the Edge series. It actually has the characters from the movie in it. Some of the other series out there are a little slightly different. Maybe the characters from the movie when they were young, or maybe some smaller characters in the movies that get their own shows. But Race to the Edge is 6 seasons. There's a lot of episodes. I have kids in my class who have this entire show memorized. Every single episode. They have watched it dozens of times. They draw the pictures. They talk. They know everything about it. I mean, it is definitely something they enjoy because they talk about it and watch it all the time, even though they've already seen these multiple times. The movies were very successful. They're very well done. So is this TV show. I've seen this one too. It's pretty entertaining, actually. Now, I would not... one other one, before I forget. One other one, Madagascar. Those movies have come out, and there have been some spin-offs of those. One of the best movies I've ever shown my kids is Penguins of Madagascar. Hilarious. It is rapid-fire hilarity. That's why the kids love it. The characters talk real fast. They do silly stuff. The movie was a huge hit. Most of them had not seen it before. But, sadly, the movie was based on a TV show. Because the Penguins of Madagascar got their own TV show, which was on Netflix and is not anymore. So that is a real bummer. Now, parents may find sitting through the Penguins of Madagascar movie a little draining because everything is coming at you so fast that it's kind of overwhelming. It's great for kids, but there is another character from the Madagascar movies who has his own TV show, and that's King Julian. Now, he's got a couple of them. I recommend the regular one, King Julian. Okay, it's 5 seasons long. King Julian is hilarious. It's just like the Madagascar movies. He's in charge of a bunch of lemurs, and they're all up to all kinds of hijinks. He always has a plan. He's trying to get to New York. He's trying to leave the jungle. So it's really pretty funny. King Julian is a great character. Again, it's rapid fire with the humor and the one-liners. It's so rapid fire, kids will miss a lot of the humor in it, but they will laugh anyway because he does talk a lot about his butt and dances a lot with his butt, and kids think that's hilarious, especially if they're under 10. Now, since I'm a teacher, of course, we have to throw some stuff in there that the children will just detest horrendously because it's educational. Now, I picked some that they don't really know are educational, so you kind of slide it in there. One of these is the classic Magic School Bus series. Now, this series has been originally came out in the 80s, and probably late 80s, early 90s, and then they rebooted it several times. So the version that's out on Netflix right now is only 4 seasons. There's only 4 seasons of it, so each episode is 30 minutes long. They are fantastic. They are funny, and they give your kids a lot of actual scientific information about stuff. And so they're learning while not knowing they're learning. So that's always a plus. Also, I like to show nature stuff, nature documentaries to my kids, just to kind of get them understanding the world around them and the animals that are in it. So the 2 I have for you on Netflix are Our Planet. It's another David Attenborough series. It's 1 season long. Now, these are a little longer. These are about 45 minutes each. So if you feel like your child may have some problems sitting still for 45 minutes listening to some British guy drone on about whatever it is he's talking about. You could chop it up into parts, watch 20 minutes of it and go back to it later. It's basically the environments of the earth, like the Arctic, the jungle, the desert, and the animals that live in each one of those, and why they live there, and how they live there, and what adaptations they have, and things like that. It's very well done. It's very good. Kids seem to enjoy that too. They're usually transfixed like this when they're watching it, watching the animals do stuff. There's another cool one out now. It's another nature show. It's called Night on Earth. And so this one is basically kind of the same thing. They go to different areas and they watch different animals in different environments, but it's done at night. So sometimes they use nighttime night vision cameras. Sometimes they use thermal cameras. It's a totally different look that most kids have not seen because it's not a traditional documentary. Now, with all nature documentaries, you will have to probably preview it first because it's a nature documentary. I tried to pick these two because they don't have a whole lot of, prey versus predator interactions, because nothing will traumatize a child more than watching Simba tear an impala to pieces on the Serengeti. Okay. They're like, they got to be a little older for that kind of stuff. So be careful with nature documentaries. The two I picked, they have a small amount of that in it, but you probably really should preview those first. Now, something that used to be on Netflix but isn't anymore is Bill Nye the Science Guy. Those are always very popular. They're kind of dated now. Some of the information he has is kind of dated, but the students in my class still like those. And I just looked those up on YouTube. He's got a YouTube channel, or somebody has a YouTube channel with his stuff on it. And it's pretty easy to find. So that's always a good one too. Those run about 30 minutes. Now, if you have an older kid, middle schooler, maybe 11, 12 to maybe 13 or 14, there's a few things out there on Netflix Kids that they also might enjoy. So these are going to be probably too intense, maybe a little too scary for younger kids, but middle school kids should be able to handle that. Maybe some 11 or 12-year-olds, depending on your kid and what all they've watched in the past. So that's one of the first ones to work with is Lost in Space. Now, this is the Netflix version, not the original one from the 60s. And the Lost in Space, it's on Netflix. There's 2 seasons of it. Is a spectacle to behold. Huge special effects, huge budgets. Okay, they really went all out on this. And this is about basically Swiss Family Robinson stuck in space, and they're lost. Okay. So it's about a family. The family does have 2 kids in it. One of them's a high school girl. The other is Will. He's a middle schooler himself. So that's why this show lines up pretty well for middle school kids. It's a very good show. Highly recommend it. Another one is Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. Now, these are a little longer. These are almost like TV movies. And they can be a little scary for younger kids, but they're also really popular with middle schoolers in general. When I was teaching middle school, we watched these and they actually loved them. Now, they have 3 seasons of Unfortunate Events, and there's 2 or 3 movies in each season, so there's not a whole lot of it, but it does, they're over an hour long, so some of them are an hour and a half, some of them are a little less. But it is a well done show. The cast is really good in it. I recommend that one also. Another new one that just came out last year was Dark Crystal Age of Innocence. So if you are my age, you remember the original Dark Crystal movie. So Dark Crystal Age of Innocence is a prequel to that movie. It leads up to the events in the Dark Crystal and how we got to that point. This is a movie, or a TV series, and the movie actually are made with puppets. Okay, there's some background CGI, but all the characters you see are puppets in this. So it's a pretty wild thing that they've accomplished with this. I mean, they have some master puppeteers in this, and the actual puppets they make look a lot better than the ones back in the days of the original movie. Much more detailed, much more expressions. It is a little dark. Okay, it's got some dark elements in it. So again, for younger kids, probably not going to be appropriate. It might give them some terrible nightmares. It's not horribly graphic, but there's a plot that involves basically sucking the essence out of creatures, and so there's some scenes of that actually happening, just like in the Dark Crystal movie, if you've seen that. But it's well done. It's good. It shows each episode is about an hour long, so I recommend that one too. Now, a really new one that just came out at the start of this year is Raising Dion, and this is a great little show. It's only the first season. I'm going to suspect they will put on more. It's been relatively popular amongst the kid offerings, and this is a show about a single mother raising her son Dion, who it turns out has superpowers. So it's kind of an interesting take on the superhero genre, because it literally is an elementary school kid. I think he might be in 6th grade, so depending on where you are, that's either middle school or could still be in elementary school. And he has a lot of problems he's got to deal with, because he's got to hide his powers, but sometimes he has to fight bad guys, and so there's a dichotomy there with his mom also trying to keep him safe and trying to keep his experience normal. It's a very good show. Recommend it. Again, that one's pretty much brand new. And also, what's been wildly popular for middle schoolers over the past years, and maybe some older elementary school kids, are the Captain Underpants movies. I mean, you know, again, a lot of this involves underwear, butts, and flatulence. So, of course, you know, that's the big three. As far as young boys go, that's the big three whammy. You know, it's about butts and underwear and farting, yay! They're pretty funny, to be honest, and they're popular with my kids. They've seen almost all of them, and they will rewatch them in any given opportunity. Well, so there's a basic list of some stuff, and I'll put the description in the description below. I'll put the actual titles again and how many seasons they are, and try to nail down for you how long they are to give you some options. Eventually, the kids are going to be back in school. Okay, this is not going to last forever. So once the pandemic has subsided and the restrictions that are placed on everybody right now are lifted, it'll go back to somewhat normalcy. At least the kids will be coming back to school, and the teachers will be in the building with them. But in the meantime, you're going to need something to kind of satiate the wild little animal you've got at home going stir crazy because they can't do anything. So this is a list of some stuff I think might help with that. Now, if you have any questions or comments, maybe some other shows that you might recommend that your kids enjoy, leave them in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell so you can get notified when I have other videos coming out. Just so you're aware, for you adults out there, I am going to be doing over the next couple of days a series of binge watching episodes where I'm going to list stuff, TV shows on Netflix that you can binge watch, and I've broken it down by category. So that should help you guys through the times when you're stuck at home with nothing to do. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.